Hello. So today I'm going to be talking about Children of Time by Adrian Tchaikovsky. This is a sci-fi novel released in 2015 and which was very popular. It won the Arthur C. Clarke Award, which I'm not too into the sci-fi awards and what is the big one, what isn't, but from what I understand, it's a big one. Children of Time is what I would consider hard sci-fi light. And I know that might be a bit confusing, but it's definitely hard sci-fi with the themes that it's tackling, the epicness of the story it's telling, and the amount of science and evolution that this book covers. However, I call it light because the writing style of this novel definitely allows for someone who is not really that into hard sci-fi to sort of dip their toes. This is not an entryway book to science fiction. I believe that Andy Weir currently holds that title with his books The Martian and Project Hail Mary, which I feel like are the perfect entry point books to sci-fi for someone who doesn't read sci-fi, especially The Martian. Those books are so well written but so pared back, but cover such heavy themes and quite scientific themes, yet break it down so the reader can understand absolutely everything. Project Hail Mary is absolutely genius in the way that it breaks down the really complex scientific themes, everything about it. I'm not even smart enough to talk about it. That's how well Project Hail Mary breaks down the science within it and makes it accessible to the reader. So fans of thrillers, or maybe even literary fiction, will be able to get into it and tackle it and understand it and have one hell of a time with it. Probably more people who are thriller readers as opposed to literary fiction readers, but you get what I mean. This book, however, I just don't think it sits in that kind of camp. Yet, I do feel like if you are often put off by hard science fiction because you think it's going to be a bit too dense, a bit too complicated, a bit too hard to get your head around, I would say that this is a great entry point book for hard sci-fi. I'm going to tell you now, it's pretty much impossible for me to review this book without spoiling one aspect that isn't covered on the blurb, on the copy on the back. I normally feel like if something is covered in the copy on the back, then it's fair game for you to talk about it within a review. But one of the most important things about this that I need to talk about, I can't, because you may consider it a spoiler. Therefore, I'm going to just give you my general thoughts right now on this book, and then I'm going to sort of talk about what it's about. In essence, I really, really like this book, / in moments, loved this book. I think it does an incredible job of spanning just absolute centuries and centuries, and yet pulling everything together. We never get lost. It holds our hand the whole way through. We always know where we're going, what's happening, and how things are evolving throughout. And we generally start to care for the two parallel stories taking place. I only have one kind of small gripe with this novel, and that I feel like the character development could have been pushed just a little bit further. We have it, we care, we're invested, we understand the characters' motivations, we understand the characters' desires, what's driving them throughout the whole of the book. Those are crystal clear. Otherwise, we wouldn't be racing through it, or I wouldn't have raced through it at the pace that I did. However, there are some characters, especially from the descendants from Earth, who I felt just could have been given a little bit more time. There's a particular relationship that happens on the ship, the Gilgamesh, in which I felt like they rushed it. I felt like it could have built more over time. The novel was almost sort of leaning towards that relationship having a bit of gravitas, and really it didn't, because I don't feel like I was giving enough time as a reader to invest in it. But overall, everything else, that's it. Like the structure, even though it's a simple structure, 2 different stories, each chapter covers a different moment from that story. I was always finding myself thinking at the end of each story, I can't wait to jump back into that one. The science of the science fiction is incredibly well handled. It's broken down nice and simply for us without ever pandering to us. It's very good. And the idea and concept is truly unique. I've never read anything like this before. I never thought I would care to read for one of the storylines in this novel, but yet I really did. I really cared. And when we get into my light spoiler discussion about what this book is actually about, then you'll see what I mean. But yeah, I really, really, really had a great time with this one. So for those of you who aren't going to stick around for the kind of spoilery, not really spoilery, but the light spoilers that I'm going to go into, I would say that this is a 4-star novel. And the only reason it's not 5-star is because of that kind of just needed a little bit more character development. If you like sci-fi, but you don't like hard sci-fi, then definitely give this one a go. It's written in such a simple kind of, the prose is very simple and straightforward. It really breaks it down nice and easy. It's very easy to digest. So yeah, this would be a good entry point. For anyone who doesn't read sci-fi at all, I don't know if this is going to sort of turn you onto sci-fi, but I tell you what, out of all the hard sci-fi books out there, I would pick this one for you to read if you were like, I'm just going to give it a go. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the general plot of this book, the narrative, the story taking place, and why I was particularly enthralled by one aspect, one story that kind of builds throughout this novel. The premise is thus: Earth is dying, and they have sent out ships into space in order to terraform and procure new life, new human life on different planets. We have a lot of kind of going into hypersleep. Do they call it stasis? You know, where a person sort of sleeps for 100 years and wakes up and, you know, it's only been, well, the blink of an eye to them. We start with Dr. Kern, who is in a spaceship above a planet that has been terraformed, and she is sent down a, is it called a probe? I don't think it's called a probe. She's sent down something, I can't remember. A ship. Down onto the planet full of apes that have been genetically modified to speed up their evolution, so that she can just go to sleep, allow the computer to watch what's going on, wake her up if anything happens, and allow for life to slowly develop over thousands of years on this planet. However, the monkeys, the apes, I can't quite remember which monkeys, apes, I think it's monkeys, they all die. But they spread their kind of virus within them onto spiders and other insects around the planet. But it's the spiders who seem to really evolve. And what we then get, one of the storylines, is the evolution of spiders across thousands of years. So spiders who think like us, spiders who have a kind of an evolutionary process similar to ours. But what we do is we get such a detailed look at how spiders would in fact deal with evolving with our mindset, how they communicate, how they build technology. I mean, they use ants and create a computer system using the hive mind of ants. It's so creative. It's so bloody fun. I found myself loving every page dealing with Portia, who is the spider's point of view that we follow throughout. She is kind of like the head revolutionary, evolutionary spider who leads the way of science with this whole entire colony, or many different colonies, species. It's just brilliant. And I've never thought before that I would root for a group of spiders in a science fiction novel. Normally they're the aliens, you know, but they've evolved to around like a meter big, so they are bigger than what they actually are, but still humans appear giant to them. And the way the story of the spiders plays out, it's like watching a season of Game of Thrones. There's backstabbing, there's kind of political plays, there's civil wars taking place, they battle with pandemics. It's just so rich and brilliant. God, I love the spider story. Like, you can see it on my face. I really, really enjoyed the whole sort of... I've not got the words for it because I just thought it was brilliant. And I've never experienced anything quite like it in a science fiction novel before. I don't know. I was a bit like, I did not see this coming. I did not know this was the route this book was going to take. The second storyline that we follow is a group of humans who have been sent into space thousands of years after Dr. Kern. So Dr. Kern was sent out as the planet was dying. The planet died. The survivors rebuilt Earth, but then the planet was still dying. So they still went out on the ship called the Gilgamesh out to kind of find new planets. They stumble across Dr. Kern's planet, but Dr. Kern is so precious of her experiment with the apes trying to evolve that she refuses them entry to land on that planet. And thus from that point on begins the whole story of them trying to find a planet to live on, them sort of trying to battle against Dr. Kern to get onto that planet, and then, you know, their possible interactions with the spiders on that planet. I mean, we all know it's building to it. As soon as the spiders were mentioned, I knew that there was going to be an eventual kind of, you know, clash between humans and spiders. So I don't see that as a major spoiler, but probably a light spoiler. We also have these civil wars breaking out on the ship, the Gilgamesh, with different people trying to take power, trying to upload their consciousness onto the supercomputer within the Gilgamesh. This novel has got a lot going on, a lot going on, and yet I never found it complicated or too much at any point. It's a big novel. I think it's, what have we got? What are we saying? It's around 580 pages long, and if it had added maybe another 300 pages, hell, I would have read 1,000 pages of this, to build up that character development a little bit more, it would have been an absolute 5-star read. But it kind of wasn't, which is okay. It didn't really damage it for me. 4 stars for me is still bloody excellent. I'm going to leave it there because I've been rambling. I'm running out of breath. I'm spitting all over the shop. Children of Time. Have you read it? What did you think of it? Do you like sci-fi? Do you hate sci-fi? If you hate sci-fi, why do you hate sci-fi? I know that my tastes on this channel are very eclectic, so I am very aware that I may have some subscribers who would only really listen to the reviews of kind of literary fiction, but then I also know there's some subscribers who might be there for when I'm reviewing thrillers and things like that. I don't really have a thing. I am just always going to review whatever I've read, be it good or bad. And 9 times out of 10, it's probably going to be good, because I'm a bit of a... I really like to read what other people claim to be their favourite books. I just love doing it, whether I disagree or not. So this book was recommended to me by a friend called John, who says it's one of his favourite sci-fi books ever written. So I thought, well, I just have to read it. I have to give it a go. There you are. That was a bit of a long one. Thank you very much for sticking with it, if you did. Please like this video. It does get the old videos, the old visibility up a little bit. And subscribe if you haven't already. You know, it helps me out. But you don't have to. There's so many book reviewers, it's insane. But thank you for watching if you have. And I'll see you on the next one.